Love can build empires, but it can also destroy them. Marcus Collins, a powerful and unyielding billionaire, stood in the lavish boardroom on the top floor of a skyscraper. The city lights glittered beyond the glass, reflecting off his tense face. Across from him, Nia Harper, his sharp-eyed black assistant with a quiet, hidden sadness, was leading the negotiation that would decide the company's fate. The steady tick of the clock echoed like a reminder of each suffocating second passing. Surrounded by powerful figures, Marcus felt utterly alone, his heart a storm in turmoil. For 7 years, he had buried his love for Nia, imprisoned by the fear of losing his status and influence. Would he finally find the courage to speak his truth, or would he lose her forever? Where do you think this story will lead? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next gripping turn. Nia Harper stood in the modest kitchen of her small home. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating her face. Calm, strong, yet carrying a trace of sorrow. She gently cared for her younger sibling, her voice soft and soothing. Her home was humble, stripped of extravagance, a stark contrast to the opulence Marcus lived in, but in that simplicity lay warmth and a love that was real. She exhaled quietly, her gaze drifting to the gray skies outside, a sign of a challenging day ahead. She knew the road forward would not be easy. The weight of societal pressure and prejudice had long rested on her shoulders, yet her eyes still held power, the power of a woman who not only dreamed of a better life but fought tirelessly to protect what she cherished most: her family, her dreams, and herself. In this moment, Nia wasn't just a skilled assistant in a billionaire's company. She was a determined, unyielding woman, ready to face any storm. The divide between her world and Marcus's grew ever clearer, and it was that very difference that would shape a story you won't be able to look away from. Nia stood alone in the schoolyard, the sound of mocking laughter echoing around her. Classmates hurled cruel words, taunting her for the color of her skin. The small girl looked up at the unfamiliar faces twisted in ridicule. Each word, each stare was like a blade to the heart, leaving silent wounds that would never truly fade. The pain wasn't just from the insults, it was the deep ache of being excluded, shut out from the world around her. Loneliness wrapped around her like a cold shadow, and yet, in Nia's eyes, there was still resolve. She refused to let those laughs and words define her. That was the moment she chose strength over weakness. That hurt became her launchpad, propelling her forward, driving her to defy prejudice and slowly build the future she dreamed of. Nia's story was only beginning, and the challenges ahead would be far greater. Marcus Collins stood in his expansive office, the warm golden light casting a glow over the framed family photo on the wall. His face was thoughtful, his gaze distant, as though searching for answers to questions he could never voice. The phone rang. He answered wearily. On the other end came the familiar voices of family and influential friends, full of pressure, full of stern reminders. They made it clear. His relationship with Nia must not jeopardize his reputation or the empire he had built. Every word was like an invisible chain, binding him tighter between love and duty. He listened in silence, but inside, his heart felt crushed. In that moment, Marcus understood more clearly than ever. The pressure he faced wasn't just about business. It was the fragile line between power and love, between choice and sacrifice. As he hung up, his eyes returned to the family photo, the loneliness pressing in even deeper. He stood alone in his grand office, the weight on his shoulders heavier than ever. Yet, somewhere within him, hope lingered, that one day love might win. Marcus Collins sat at the head of the conference table, his voice firm, his eyes sharp as he directed high-stakes projects. Every decision carried the weight and confidence of a man used to being in command. But in fleeting moments, his gaze wandered toward Nia, the assistant jotting notes with full focus. That look held more than professional regard. It was filled with quiet conflict, the war between responsibility and the personal feelings he kept locked away. Inside Marcus, the battle between ambition and love was growing more intense. He was not just a leader, he was a man wrestling with his deepest fears. The noise of the meeting seemed to fade into the background, drowned out by the chaos in his thoughts. He fought to stay composed, yet his mind was pulled toward Nia, the one person who made him feel out of control. In that moment, he realized, no matter how powerful a man may be, the heart remains vulnerable to its own complexities, and their story was only just unfolding. Nia and Marcus sat side by side in the meeting room, reviewing the draft of a new contract. They worked in perfect rhythm, each clause refined under their skilled hands. The space between them was close, yet an invisible barrier remained. Marcus would sometimes glance at Nia with quiet admiration for her sharpness and dedication, but he would quickly look away, not letting it linger. Nia felt the warmth in those glances, but she also understood the caution and fear behind them. She stayed silent, keeping her focus on the work to prevent emotions from breaking her composure. Their workspace was both professional and suffocating, filled with unspoken exchanges and words left unsaid. This moment captured the essence of their connection. Colleagues, yet something more waiting to be acknowledged, blocked by social barriers and private fears. They both knew the distance couldn't last forever, but when and how would they finally cross it? The story continued to unfold. Nia stepped into the office and immediately felt the scrutinizing gaze of a white colleague. She caught the sting of a sly remark, soft-spoken, yet cutting. "You're lucky to work so closely with the boss," the voice said, dripping with implication. Though the words hurt, Nia kept her composure, replying with a polite smile and steady eyes. She knew this wasn't just a test of her skills, it was a battle of willpower and resilience. In that moment, she stood her ground, refusing to let the insult weaken her resolve. She understood that to survive and succeed in this world, she had to be stronger than the prejudice and venom around her. What do you think of the way Nia handled the pressure? Have you ever faced something similar? Share your thoughts in the comments. Nia's journey is far from over, and the trials ahead will only grow more intense. Don't forget to follow along for the next powerful chapter. Nia sat in a small cafe near the office across from Amara, her closest friend and fellow black colleague. The cozy space, the gentle music, and the soft clink of cups created a safe corner for honest conversation. They spoke about the pressures of work and the dreams still out of reach. Amara looked at Nia with empathy, relating to the struggle of balancing society's expectations with personal ambitions. Nia shared how she had always needed to work twice as hard to prove her worth. She spoke openly about being underestimated because of her skin color, but also about her unwavering belief in a better future. Amara nodded, encouraging her to hold on to her strength and faith. Their friendship was both a refuge and a source of fuel. This intimate moment revealed the deeper layers of Nia's journey, not just personal battles, but the fight for fairness and a rightful place in a challenging world. Amara sat alone in the cafe, and something in her eyes shifted. The warmth once filled with empathy now held a glint of envy and calculation. She had overheard rumors about Nia's relationship with Marcus, and it unsettled her. What once was camaraderie now began to curdle into quiet resentment. A faint smirk crossed her lips as she considered her own plan. She knew that if she played it right, this rumor could become a double-edged sword, one that could cut deep into both Nia's career and her personal life. In the shadow of jealousy, Amara decided to use this secret to tilt the game in her favor. No one could have guessed that a trusted friendship was now standing on the edge of collapse. The truths hidden for so long were about to surface, and with them, consequences no one could control. Amara stood in a quiet hallway corner, whispering to another colleague. Her voice was low, but each word dripped with implication about Nia and Marcus. The camera would catch her only from behind, a shoulder, a shadow, adding to the secrecy and suspicion. Like cold raindrops, the rumors began to spread through the office air. Unaware of the betrayal building behind her, Nia kept working with her usual dedication. She didn't yet realize that trust was already fracturing around her. Those whispers and cold stares began to form an invisible wall between her and her colleagues. In that moment, a crack opened in the foundation of the relationships she had once believed in. Marcus stood by his office window when his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown source revealed ugly rumors about Nia. His expression shifted instantly, from calm to a mix of pain and fury. Inside, his emotions churned. He stared out at the glittering city, but all he could see was the darkness of betrayal and hurt. He told himself he could not let whispers and lies damage Nia. No matter the difficulty, no matter the outside pressure, he would protect her, not only for love, but for fairness and trust. A storm of helplessness and resolve raged within him, an endless battle in his chest. Marcus knew that to keep the woman he loved, he would have to break through the walls of prejudice and suspicion. In that moment, he made himself a promise. No one would harm Nia, no matter the cost. His eyes hardened, those of a man ready to fight for both love and honor. Naya sat before her computer, fingers moving lightly across the keyboard. She tried to stay calm, to focus on her work as always, but her eyes betrayed the deep hurt inside. In a brief moment of stillness, she glanced toward the window where daylight streamed in. It was then she felt most alone, when the rumors seemed to spread like a shadow closing in around her. On the outside, she remained the image of strength and professionalism. Inside, she wrestled with the sting of betrayal and the weight of doubt. Every breath carried a mix of isolation and quiet pain. She knew that if she let that pain show, she would lose control, so she chose to hide it, holding on to the strong image the world expected to see. In that moment, Nia's inner war was clear, strong on the outside, but fragile and wounded within. Her story deepened as her unspoken pain began to flicker through her gaze. Marcus's family gathered in their elegant living room, tension hanging thick in the air. Their eyes swept over Nia with a subtle, condescending disdain, as if she could never belong in their world. Barbed words passed between them, each layered with meaning and dismissal. They didn't have to speak outright. Their looks and gestures said enough. Marcus stood in the middle, defending Nia with firm words. He stressed her value and contributions to both the family and the company. But his words were quickly dismissed. The family would not easily accept her. They pressed on about reputation, tradition, and whether Nia fit their world. This was more than a personal conflict. It was the collision of two very different worlds, of love against prejudice. Marcus felt the crushing pressure, but his eyes stayed firm. He would not allow his family to wound Nia. This moment marked a major barrier in their relationship, laying the groundwork for the trials to come. In the boardroom, Nia sat across from Marcus, her gaze quiet but deep. The distance between them was more than a few tables. It was the invisible wall built by recent tensions. She looked at him, her eyes carrying a profound sadness, a wordless loneliness as she felt the growing gap between them. The voices around her faded into nothing, leaving only Marcus, the man she had once trusted and leaned on. Marcus, too, could not hide the struggle within. He searched her face for any sign of forgiveness or understanding, but the hurt, the pressure from his family, and the public's judgment had built an unseen wall between them. The air in the room was heavy, filled with emotions they could not put into words. Two people, caught between career and love, each fighting challenges too complex to fully explain. This moment laid bare the complexity of their bond, a mix of love, doubt, and the distances they would have to learn to cross. Nia stood alone by the window, the late afternoon sun painting the room in gold. She looked out at the city as it slowly sank into shadow. Her eyes were thoughtful, filled with unspoken questions about the future. Her love for Marcus, a secret she had to hide beneath layers of pressure and prejudice, rested heavily on her heart. The silence was broken only by a soft sigh and the distant hum of traffic. The twilight seemed to hold her mood, quiet, solitary, yet still holding on to hope. She wondered if their love could truly withstand every obstacle, or if it would remain a secret, forever unspoken. The moment carried a deep longing, a wish to love freely, without judgment or harm. The sunset softened the tension, but also reminded her, time does not wait, and decisions must be made. Nia stood before the mirror, the dressing room lights casting a glow over her face. She studied her reflection, searching for confidence in her own eyes. Inside, a fierce battle raged between belief and fear. She worried about the judgmental stares, the prejudice she would face walking into the glamorous gala. Each adjustment to her gown, each stroke of the brush through her hair was an effort to mask her deepest insecurities. Yet tension still lingered in every sigh and fleeting glance in the mirror. Nia knew tonight was more than a social event. It was a test of her strength, her ability to stand tall in the invisible pressure of race and class. Still, she reminded herself she was worthy, that she was not just the black woman by a billionaire's side, but a strong woman with a voice of her own. In that moment, she decided to step out of the shadows of fear, to shine despite every watchful eye. The phone rang in Marcus's office. He answered, and a cold voice spoke without hesitation. His family warned him against making his relationship with Nia public. Their words carried veiled threats, reminding him that his reputation and empire could be damaged. The warning wasn't just advice. It was pressure, heavy and unrelenting. Beneath it, Marcus could hear the unspoken menace. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stared out the window, weighing his choice once again, love or ambition. He knew this decision would not come easily. The force of family and societal expectations was immense, but his feelings for Nia were something he couldn't abandon. When the call ended, the air in the room felt heavier. Marcus exhaled, bracing himself for a fight he knew would be brutal. In a closed boardroom, Marcus sat surrounded by a circle of powerful partners. The warm, gold light illuminated each serious face. The discussion turned to his relationship with Nia, something that could threaten the company's image and stability. The partners proposed delicate solutions, applying pressure, isolating Nia within the company. Every suggestion was calculated, strategic. Marcus listened, emotions churning beneath his calm exterior. He knew this was no longer just business. It was a battle to protect both his love and his career. The atmosphere was heavy, every word measured. There was no room for error, no space for weakness. Marcus's gaze was hard, his mind working to find a balance between his duties and what his heart demanded. The meeting ended in silence, but the decisions made would ripple through both his and Nia's lives. The gala opened in a dazzling setting, crystal lights glittering across the hall. Nia stepped into the grand foyer in a stunning sapphire gown, the spotlight catching her in the midst of the powerful crowd. Every step she took drew admiring and wary eyes. The gown embraced her figure, highlighting her elegance and poise, yet in her gaze flickered a trace of worry, the fear of being judged. Whispers began to spread, a blend of curiosity and doubt over her presence here. Nia felt the invisible weight of the lavish environment, where every glance seemed as sharp as a blade. Still, she held her head high, shining in her own way. This was more than a party, it was a statement, a milestone in her journey to rise above prejudice. In that moment, she embodied resilience, standing tall under the lights, surrounded by deeply rooted judgment. Nia moved through the crowd of guests, but not all greeted her with warmth. Some watched her with cold, assessing eyes. A low whisper reached her ear, full of implication and gossip. Each word felt like a needle to her pride. Though it hurt, she swallowed her emotions, keeping her composure and her outer strength. She would not let those stares shake her determination or belief in herself. The light that caught her dazzling gown could not hide the quiet wounds she carried within. Each step forward was a silent battle between confidence and hurt. Nia knew that in a place of power, judgment came not only in words, but in challenges she would have to overcome to prove her true worth. This moment thrust her into an intense inner war, where strength and patience were the only weapons she had to keep moving forward. Marcus stepped into the gala hall, his gaze sweeping over the powerful crowd. He searched for Nia among the unfamiliar faces and blinding lights. Despite the grandeur around him, his eyes carried worry and tension. He felt caught between two worlds, career and love, responsibility and personal desire. Each step toward her made his heartbeat quicken, not from the noise around him, but from the invisible weight pressing down on his shoulders. Then he saw her, standing quietly under the probing eyes of others. A wave of concern and a fierce urge to protect her surged through him. His eyes didn't just search, they sent a silent vow. No matter the hardship, he would be there for her. That moment captured their deep connection. Two people fighting for love and acceptance in a complicated world. Nia and Marcus stood close in the gala hall, their voices soft and polite. Both tried to keep a professional distance, careful not to let emotions spill over. But their eyes told a different story. Every glance they exchanged was layered with longing and unspoken conflict. Nia looked at Marcus with a mix of hesitation and shy uncertainty. He answered with a gaze both gentle and filled with worry. The conversation was brief, every word weighed carefully. They both knew this was more than small talk. The tension between duty and feeling hung in the air, heavy but undeniably real. In that moment, their complex relationship was clear. Love tangled with work, making life harder for them both. Though their words stayed formal, their eyes could not hide what was inside. Rumors about Marcus and Nia began spreading right there in the gala hall. Curious eyes followed them whenever they so much as exchanged a glance. Soft whispers traveled from guest to guest. People commented on the unusual way they looked at each other. The murmurs were subtle but full of implication, filling the room with unease. Some guests paused, watching them with suspicion and judgment. Slowly, the attention shifted toward Nia, the striking black woman standing out in a sea of power. The mix of curiosity and caution in their stares made her feel the weight of every rumor. She kept her composure, refusing to be pulled into the swirl of gossip. Marcus felt the pressure, too. He knew the truth hadn't been spoken aloud, but the rumors would spread fast. This moment felt like a turning point, where every glance and whisper could change the course of their story. The air grew taut, hinting at the trials waiting ahead. Amara lingered near the wine table, her eyes glinting with calculation. She whispered to a few nearby guests, her voice low, but sharp enough to stir the room. With each retelling, the story grew more exaggerated. Guests murmured about a secret relationship between Nia and Marcus. The atmosphere tightened. Mara seized the moment to plant seeds of doubt, keeping herself in the shadows while the rumor became the center of attention. Curious eyes turned toward Nia. The air thickened around her, isolating her in a crowd of strangers. The gossip spread quietly but swiftly, a wave of unease that Nia had yet to sense. Every whispered word was like a silent blade. This scene revealed the power of rumor and the danger it could bring. Betrayal from someone once trusted marked the beginning of the storm to come. Marcus received a message from a colleague. It said the rumors about Nia were spreading fast. His face instantly tightened with pain and worry. He lowered his head, his mind in chaos. It was a crushing feeling, knowing the woman he loved was being hurt by baseless talk, but the pain didn't weaken him. It strengthened his resolve. He knew he had to stand against every ounce of pressure and prejudice. He thought of the moments they had shared, of Nia's resilience and kindness. Those memories were a warm fire, fueling his determination. He picked up the phone, deciding to call her, to comfort her, to stand beside her in this storm. His eyes hardened with a fierce will. He understood this was more than a personal fight. It was a battle to protect love and honor. Every gesture, every look carried his determination. Marcus was ready to face any danger to protect the most important woman in his life. Though he knew greater trials lay ahead, he believed in the strength of love and sincerity. Nothing could make him turn back. Nia stood alone in a corner of the gala, the shimmering lights casting a glow over her solitary figure. Her gaze was distant, lost in scattered thoughts. She tried to stay composed, closing her eyes briefly to keep the tears from spilling. Each breath was heavy, carrying unspoken sadness and exhaustion. All around her, laughter and conversation filled the room, yet she felt apart from it. Trapped in an invisible cage, every stare full of judgment, every whisper another rumor. Her solitary beauty was tinged with quiet sorrow. The strength she showed on the outside hid a deep, aching wound. In that moment, no words were needed to convey her feelings. A single glance, a tight grip of the hand, would have said enough. She knew she had to keep moving forward, even when her legs felt like giving way. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for her dreams and the love still kept in the shadows. Marcus stood silently at the edge of the hall, watching Nia dance with another man. The glittering lights caught every step of their movement, but inside Marcus was a storm. Jealousy burned hot, mixing with a deep, aching pain he couldn't easily voice. He saw her laugh, exchange light conversation, and his heart clenched at the distance he never wanted between them. It was the cruelest paradox, the woman he loved in someone else's arms, while he still hadn't found the courage to reveal his whole truth. The feeling of being left behind, replaced, left him adrift in conflicting emotions. He wondered if the love he'd hidden for so long was strong enough to keep her, or if his silence and fear had already built an unbreakable wall. His gaze shifted from anger to sorrow, reflecting the wounds inside him. One thing became clear. He could no longer stand on the sidelines. The emotions rising within him burned like a slow fire, signaling a dramatic turning point ahead. Marcus turned away, leaving the noisy crowd behind. His steps were heavy, his mind restless. The guilt and regret crashed over him like a relentless wave, sweeping away reason. He wondered where he had gone wrong, if he should have spoken sooner, or if he had already missed too many chances. The room behind him stayed bright and alive, but he felt lost in his own world. The lights blurred, wrapping him in the dark curtain of his pain. He stood by a window, looking out over the brilliant city, his heart shrouded in shadow. Thoughts tangled and tightened with each passing second. Love and pride clashed violently inside him, leaving a pain too deep for words. The fear of loss pressed in. He knew he could never abandon Nia, but to reach her, he would have to overcome himself, his own harshest barriers. This was a man standing at a crossroads, torn between love and fear. In the middle of the crowd, Nia suddenly caught the sound of whispers about her. The voices were soft but razor-sharp, stabbing straight at her pride. She turned away, each step heavier than the last, carrying the weight of deep hurt. Her eyes were heavy with sadness, fighting back tears. Every murmur echoed like a distant call, pulling her deeper into feelings of loneliness and betrayal. The rumors not only wounded her dignity, but pushed her into a world of doubt and isolation. Nia knew she had to be strong, but in that moment her vulnerability showed. She felt the growing distance between herself and Marcus, between herself and the world around her. She walked away from the crowd, wanting to escape the stares and the gossip. It was a moment that marked a temporary fracture in both trust and their relationship, a quiet undercurrent of emotion building toward an inevitable break. Marcus stood outside the gala, the night wrapped around him. Behind him, the glittering lights faded. Above him, the sky was filled with stars. He looked upward, searching those distant points of light for answers to the questions weighing on him. Loss, impossible choices, and heavy decisions crowded his thoughts. The cold air deepened his loneliness. He felt the distance between himself and the world he lived in. In the silence, he thought about love, sacrifice, and the trade-offs he could no longer avoid. Career, reputation, or love and truth, these were the crossroads before him. His hands clenched, resolve clear, yet shadowed by fear. Every choice from here would change his life and hers forever. The image of Marcus under the night sky was that of a man standing at the threshold of the most important decision of his life. Nia stepped into her small apartment, slipping out of the glamorous gown after a long night. Her eyes revealed exhaustion, her body heavy with unspoken emotions. She sat at her desk, the warm glow of the lamp casting light on her weary face. Every whisper from the gala still echoed in her mind like sharp needles. She remembered the scrutinizing glances, the malicious murmurs, all of it making her feel isolated, not only in the crowd but in her own life. Still, she tried to stay calm, finding a small comfort in her work, the one place where she could freely express herself without judgment. Her mood surged like waves, caught between pain and resolve. The memories from the gala reminded her that the road ahead would be even more treacherous. In this moment, it was a reminder that no matter how tired she was, she had to keep moving forward, for love, for her dreams, and for herself. Marcus sat alone in his office, phone trembling slightly in his hand. He called an old friend, his voice carrying the weight of deep inner conflict. He spoke about his tangled emotions, his love for Nia, and his fear of losing everything if their relationship became public. Marcus shared the pressure from his family, the weight of his reputation, and the empire he had built. Every choice now would affect not only him, but the company and everyone close to him. His friend listened, offering advice now and then, but Marcus still felt alone in this internal battle. He admitted the clash between heart and reason, between the desire to live authentically and the fear of loss. The call became a moment of vulnerability, so unlike the strong, composed image he usually projected. When it ended, he stared off into the distance, his mind still searching for answers he could not yet find. Nia was working at her desk when her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. It was a message from Amara, her closest friend. The message was short but heavy with meaning. The rumors are spreading. Be careful about what people are saying about you. Nia read the words again and again, a storm rising inside her. She knew Amara was no longer the friend she once trusted. Every word and action lately had carved a gap between them that could not be erased. Nia felt the sting of silent betrayal like a blade to the heart, and she knew the rumors were not harmless gossip. They were a weapon. Her gaze hardened. Pain was replaced by determination. She refused to be broken by malice. This moment felt like a turning point, a signal that she would now face greater battles, not just from outsiders, but from someone once closest to her. The message was a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode and change everything. Nia and Marcus stood outside under the dim glow of a street lamp. The air was still, the soft breeze only sharpening the tension between them. They faced each other, eyes heavy with hurt and emotions left unspoken. Unvoiced words, lingering anger, and unshaken doubts hung between them. Nia's tear-filled eyes were steady. She wanted to know what Marcus truly felt, whether he would admit his love or continue to keep it hidden. Marcus, his eyes tired, tried to remain calm, but the conflict inside him was impossible to hide. He wanted to protect her, but feared causing her even more pain. It was a silent battle, both wanting the truth out, both afraid of the consequences. The streetlight cast long shadows, a symbol of the darkness they needed to overcome together. They stood there, close yet far, trapped between love and the fear they couldn't yet name. Marcus gently took Nia's hand, his gaze filled with unwavering resolve and sincerity. I can't lose you, he said softly but firmly, his words carrying the weight of an unbreakable vow. His fingers tightened around hers, sending her strength and comfort in the middle of the storm. He promised to protect her from every challenge, every rumor, no matter how the world turned against them. You're not alone, Marcus said, never breaking eye contact. I'll be right here, facing it all with you. Naya felt the warmth and safety in his promise. A wave of emotion surged through her, washing away some of the hurt and doubt. In that moment, every barrier seemed to fall away. Love and commitment shone clearly, like a light guiding them through the dark. Marcus and Naya, two resilient souls, were ready to face the road ahead together, stronger than before. Nia closed her eyes, recalling the first time Marcus had stepped in to defend her. It had been during an important meeting. A few colleagues whispered and snickered about her, their eyes full of bias, their words laced with malice. Nia felt alone, her heart racing from the unfairness. The sense of betrayal weighed heavy on her shoulders. Then Marcus stood up, his voice firm, yet calm, cutting through the noise. This has nothing to do with her ability to do her job. I trust Naya, and I won't let any gossip interfere with her work. His sharp, decisive gaze silenced the room. His conviction dissolved the side glances and whispers. The feeling of being defended flooded Naya's heart, warming her and giving her strength. That moment became a fortress against the prejudice and pressure around her. She felt deeply the care Marcus had for her, not just as her boss, but as a partner in the fight. His protection was more than words. It was action, a quiet testament to love and loyalty. Nia sat alone in her small room, her thoughts as unsettled as a storm that refused to pass. Marcus's words echoed in her mind, but doubt still lingered. She wanted to believe his promise, to trust he wouldn't let her be hurt or betrayed again, but old wounds had not yet healed. The fear of being hurt again made her hesitate. The loneliness and isolation she'd felt for so long shadowed her every thought. She wondered if she had the courage to open her heart, to accept love in the face of judgment and hardship. She remembered the times she'd had to hide her emotions, to bury her pain just to stand strong in a world full of pressure. The inner struggle wore her down, but it also pushed her toward finding her own answer. Naya knew that to move forward, she would have to face her fears and place her trust in Marcus. In that moment, pain and hope intertwined, creating a complex but living emotion. She decided she would not let the past dictate the future. Difficult as it was, she was ready to open her heart and move forward with him. Marcus stood before his family, his gaze steady and unwavering. His voice rang out, firm and without hesitation. "I'm not going to hide my feelings for Nia anymore," he declared, and the room fell silent. The air turned tense, suffocating. His family exchanged looks, their disapproval plain. They would not accept a relationship they believed could shatter their tradition and tarnish their name. Harsh objections and sharp criticism followed. The confrontation began, testing Marcus's resolve with every word. But he stood his ground, refusing to retreat, knowing the opposition would be long and the consequences heavy. This was not just his personal fight, it was a battle for love and honor. Every word was like a blade, but Marcus stayed firm, proving his determination to protect what he believed in. This was a turning point, opening a new chapter of challenges for him and Nia. Nia held the invitation from Marcus, her fingers trembling as she read the words inviting her to a press conference to publicly announce their relationship. Her eyes held both worry and hope. Worry, because she knew the event would be a shock and could unleash storms they couldn't predict. But deep inside, she also felt a spark, a chance for their love to be recognized, no longer hidden in the shadows. The countdown to the press conference had begun, each passing minute heightening her anticipation. She knew this decision would change their lives forever. There was no room left for hesitation or retreat. Every moment was a mixture of hope and fear. Standing before the mirror, she told herself she would be strong, ready for whatever came next. The press conference would not just be about declaring their love, it would be the first step into a long, challenging journey ahead. On a rainy night, Marcus stood under the awning outside Nia's home, his coat drenched. He knocked gently. When Naya opened the door, he looked straight into her eyes and said quietly but firmly, "I'm sorry for keeping it a secret for so long." He admitted his fear of hurting her, of losing everything. But now, he could no longer hide. "I love you, and I want you to know that." Naya hesitated, her eyes a well of emotions. The rain outside seemed to echo her feelings, each drop a reflection of the pain she had kept locked away. Marcus stepped inside, taking her hand, every gesture filled with sincerity and resolve. Their love was reignited in that moment, even in the midst of storms and trials yet to come. Could Marcus heal the wounds of the past? Could Nia find the strength to open her heart to him again? What do you think of this turning point? Can love truly overcome every barrier? Stay tuned for what comes next. Nia sat beside Marcus, her eyes glistening as he began to open up. Marcus spoke of the crushing weight of ambition, of the relentless expectations from family and society. He feared losing everything if he went public about their love. Money, power, and reputation had become a burden that forced him to keep their relationship hidden. These fears weren't just rational, they cut deep into his heart. Nia looked at him quietly, tears sliding down her cheeks. She realized that the strength Marcus showed the world was only a facade. Beneath it was a man wrestling with loneliness and the heavy chains of responsibility. Her tears came not just from sadness, but from empathy and compassion, a blend of emotions that deepened the bond between them. This was more than sharing. It was two wounded souls connecting. Nia knew that to move forward, they would both have to confront and conquer their deepest fears. Now, their love was not only about passion, it was about understanding, and the resolve to build a future together. Marcus and Nia sat side by side, the soft light reflecting on their faces, illuminating the traces of old wounds. They began recounting their pasts, where painful scars still lingered. Nia spoke of the times she had endured racism, mocking laughter, cruel words that still echoed in her mind. Her eyes blurred with tears, but her voice remained steady. Marcus confessed the weight of class expectations. His powerful family and the society around him placed him under a constant burden, leaving him torn between the world he was born into and the dream of building a life with Nia. They understood that love was not just sweetness, it was also a battle against prejudice and deep-rooted social barriers. The image of invisible walls, separating class, race, and the heavy legacy of history, was etched in both their minds. In that moment, they became more deeply bound, united in acknowledging their pain and committing to overcome every obstacle together. Marcus and Nia knew they were not alone. They had each other, a force strong enough to defy prejudice, break barriers, and write a love story that rose above all adversity. Nia stared into the distance, speaking of the wounds she had endured in work, family, and society. At her workplace, she faced skeptical stares, belittling remarks from colleagues, judgment passed solely on her skin color and background. Every day at the office was a silent battle to prove her ability and worth. In her family, invisible pressures weighed her down. Her loved ones didn't fully understand or support her, leaving her feeling isolated even in her own home. In the wider world, life was no easier. Prejudices of class and race lurked everywhere, forcing her to suppress her emotions and hide her true self. Yet Nia never let these wounds defeat her. She turned pain into fuel, pushing herself to break past limits and shatter stereotypes. Each word, each tear revealed her inner strength and her yearning for freedom. Her story was not only her own, it was the voice of millions who fight every day to be seen and respected. This was her most honest moment, allowing Marcus to truly understand the journey and resilience of the woman he loved. Marcus looked directly into Nia's eyes, his voice heavy with remorse. "I'm sorry I didn't stand by you sooner," he admitted. Each word weighted like stone. He realized that in the moments that mattered most, he hadn't been brave enough to protect her, to face a world of prejudice and pressure alongside her. Marcus spoke of his mistakes, not just his silence, but the times he let fear dictate his choices. But now, he promised change. He vowed never to let her face the storm alone again. "I will be the one beside you, protecting you, not just in words, but in action," Marcus said, his gaze unwavering. His vow was not only a promise, but a release of emotions long kept inside. Nia felt strength in his words, her heart filling with renewed trust and hope. This marked a turning point in their relationship, opening a new chapter where love was built on understanding and unwavering commitment. Marcus and Nia sat across from each other in the warmth of a quiet room. The stillness held only their breathing, their heartbeats in sync. They began a deep conversation, stripping away all facades. Marcus shared his most private fears and the pressures that had torn at him. Nia listened, her eyes filled with empathy and compassion. In return, Nia opened up about her own pain and hopes, unafraid to show both her vulnerability and her strength. Every word, every glance felt like an invisible thread binding them closer together. They realized that understanding wasn't just hearing, it was truly feeling the unspoken. Emotions overflowed, and the barriers in their hearts began to dissolve. This exchange not only deepened their understanding but fortified their love, turning it into a force strong enough to withstand whatever came. In the soft light, Marcus and Nia knew they were ready to move forward, not in fear, but with hope. Nia's former friend, who had quietly fueled the rumors, began to lose her influence in the company. Her betrayal was exposed through undeniable evidence. Colleagues who once respected her now looked at her with suspicion and disdain. Closed-door meetings and whispered talk left her isolated, her position and reputation hanging by a thread. The once calculating gleam in her eyes was replaced with worry and panic, unable to hide the collapse within. Though Nia kept her distance, she couldn't deny a sense of relief at seeing justice done. Betrayal came with a price, and this moment shifted the dynamics in their tense, competitive workplace. It became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the value of honesty and solidarity. The battle between light and shadow in the company was far from over, but fairness was finally beginning to have a voice. Marcus stood tall before his family, his gaze firm, his voice ringing with determination. "I want to make my relationship with Nia public," he declared without hesitation. The room fell silent, the air thick with tension. His family exchanged glances, their eyes filled with both shock and disapproval. This was not merely a personal statement, it was a direct challenge to the tradition and reputation his family had guarded for generations. Marcus knew the backlash would be fierce, but he could no longer live in the shadows or in lies. He emphasized that love should never be bound by class or color, and he was choosing to follow his heart. His family grew angry, but Marcus refused to yield to their pressure. This moment marked a significant turning point, opening a new chapter for both him and Nia. His decision to go public was an act of courage, proof that he had grown and was ready to face whatever came to protect their love. After Marcus's public declaration, he and Nia faced a wave of mixed reactions from both family and society. His family was split. Some offered support, but others condemned the relationship, even threatening to strip him of his inheritance. In the public sphere, social media and the press buzzed with conflicting opinions. Some praised their bravery, while others criticized the relationship as inappropriate. Despite the pressure and harsh commentary, Marcus and Nia stood firmly together. They knew this was only the beginning of their trials. They planned and prepared themselves mentally for the road ahead. Their unity became their greatest strength. This moment was not just a test, it was a step forward in both their love and their careers. They knew that to win, they had to trust each other completely and never allow anything to divide them. Together, they were ready to face the next challenge with unshakable resolve. Marcus and Nia entered the press conference, flashes from cameras erupting like a storm around them. The media crowded in, dozens of lenses trained on them, reporters' eyes sharp with curiosity, ready to dissect every detail. Tension was etched into their faces. Standing side by side, their hands clasped tightly, they drew strength from each other amid the sea of strangers. The room buzzed with the hum of cameras, the crackle of microphones, and a barrage of rapid questions, creating a charged mix of excitement and pressure. Spotlights lit up Marcus's tailored suit and Nia's shimmering gown, painting them as a power couple radiating both elegance and emotion. Every glance, every moment was captured, marking a major milestone in their lives. The blend of confidence, fear, and determination was written clearly in their gestures and expressions. This press conference was not just a public announcement, it was the opening scene of a new journey where they would have to face the world together. In the bright lights of the press conference, Marcus stepped up to the podium, his gaze locked on the crowd. "This love is worth more than all the fame and money in the world," he declared, his voice clear and unwavering. The words rang out like a challenge, shattering long-held prejudices and doubts. The sincerity and strength in his tone silenced many, making them feel the weight and truth of his message. Nia stood beside him, her eyes filled with pride and trust. She knew this moment was not just a declaration of love, it was a declaration of choice and true values. Marcus was unafraid to face the world, willing to sacrifice everything for genuine love and fairness. His words touched hearts, making people reflect on what truly matters in life. Do you believe love can overcome every barrier, even fame and fortune? Would you stand up to protect your own love? Share your thoughts and stay with us for the next chapter of their story. Nia stood before the microphone, the lights illuminating her face. Her eyes were steady, filled with emotion and resolve. She spoke of the times she had been judged, dismissed for nothing more than her skin color and background. Those wounds had once made her doubt herself. There were moments she thought she couldn't go on, but love and trust had carried her through prejudice and the walls society built. Nia spoke of patience and courage, of the unshakable determination to build something real with Marcus. She emphasized that everyone deserves to be loved, accepted, and to live as their true selves. Her words were more than her own story. They were a source of inspiration for millions fighting for the right to love and to be respected. The audience felt the strength and sincerity in every word, along with a message of hope and change. It was living proof that love could overcome any prejudice and become the most powerful force in life. After the press conference, the public's reaction became clear. Many voiced their support for Marcus and Nia, sending encouragement, applauding their courage. Positive comments spread quickly across social media. Their story became an inspiration to many, but whispers of criticism still lingered, sideways glances, muttered judgments. Some groups refused to accept the relationship, attacking them over issues of race and class. The divide in public opinion sparked a heated social debate, making the atmosphere more tense. Marcus and Nia now faced a new challenge: how to keep their love strong in a storm of public scrutiny. They knew the road ahead was long and difficult, but the growing wave of support gave them strength. Their story was far from over. Bigger trials still lay ahead, and they would face them together. Marcus and Nia stood side by side, their hands locked together, determined not to let go. Ahead of them was a rising tide of public opinion, voices whispering, eyes watching, gossip swirling. They knew time would not wait. With each passing second, the pressure grew, demanding steadiness and resilience. Harsh criticism and disapproving stares could not shake their resolve. Marcus leaned toward Nia and whispered, "We can't fall now. This is when we have to be strongest." Nia nodded firmly, her eyes glowing with faith in their love and in herself. They braced for the challenges to come, knowing every moment mattered. The clock of their lives was ticking, with opportunity and danger woven tightly together. They understood that every step forward would change not just their own lives, but the lives of those around them. Marcus and Nia were ready to stand firm, to face every prejudice, and to protect their true love beyond all limits. Morning light streamed through the wide windows of the office where Marcus, Nia, and their team prepared a new social project. The project bore the name of Marcus's grandfather, a symbol of the right to live and of social justice, a vision long in the making. Marcus stood beside the blueprints, his face serious but full of hope. On the desk sat a framed photo of his grandfather, a man who had fought relentlessly for justice. Nia discussed plans with team members, her eyes bright with dedication. She knew this was more than work, it was a mission. Blueprints and documents covered the table, every detail discussed, from construction to community programs. The air was filled with unity and faith in a brighter future. Everyone present could feel the power of the project, not just to build structures, but to uplift the rights of the disadvantaged. The vision began to take shape, a flame of hope and justice for the community. Marcus and Nia exchanged a look. They knew this was the next chapter in their journey, one of purpose and challenge. The afternoon sun fell softly over the grounds of the social project. Marcus and Nia stood together before the red ribbon, their faces glowing with pride and joy. The snip of the scissors rang out. The project named after Marcus's grandfather was now open, a living symbol of the right to live and of justice. The crowd erupted in applause, faces lit with joy and hope. Marcus looked at Nia, gratitude and trust in his eyes. They had fought through so much to reach this moment. Nia smiled, her eyes sparkling with pride and happiness. She knew this project would not only change their lives but inspire many others. Marcus's voice rang out, strong, heartfelt. Love and justice are the foundation of all progress. We stand here today not just to open a project, but to affirm the value of courage and belief. This was not an ending, but a new beginning, a chance to spread values of humanity far and wide. Their love had become a guiding flame for change and hope. Nia stepped up to the podium, the lights casting her in a confident, emotional glow. She began with her personal story, of the struggles she had faced, and the relentless fight for recognition. Nia stressed that love was not just a bond between two people, but a right to live with fairness in society. She spoke of the project's meaning as a symbol of justice and hope for those left behind. Everyone deserved respect and love, regardless of race or social status. Nia called on everyone to break down the walls of prejudice, to build a community of unity and compassion. Her words carried a powerful inspiration, reaching deep into the hearts of those listening. The audience sat in silence, absorbing her message. She ended with a promise to keep fighting for love and justice, not only for herself, but for the entire community. It was a moment that marked her growth, her strength, and her unwavering belief in the future. Marcus and Nia stood together, hand in hand, at center stage bathed in light. Their eyes met with unspoken trust, a silent promise of a hopeful future together. All around them, applause roared, but for them there was only this moment, the moment of connection and true love. They didn't need words. Their gaze alone said that no hardship could break them now. Hand in hand, they drew strength from each other, a well of energy to carry them forward. The scene was calm but profound, proof that love and steadfastness could overcome any wall. Marcus squeezed Nia's hand gently, his face soft but resolute. She answered with a warm smile and bright eyes. It was an image that spoke powerfully. No matter the trials of the world, they would always have each other. It was a symbol of faith, unity, and the beginning of a new journey ahead. The hall erupted in joyous applause, the air thick with love and support. Media cameras captured every moment, flashes sparking like reflections of belief and hope. Everyone present could feel the power of a love story that had conquered prejudice and challenge. The atmosphere ignited a positive flame in every heart, spreading inspiration and belief in change. Laughter, warm handshakes, and heartfelt congratulations filled the room, weaving a chain of shared emotion. Marcus and Nia stood on stage, their eyes reflecting deep gratitude and emotion. They realized their journey was no longer just their own, it had become a symbol for many others. The crowd seemed to say, "We stand with you, we believe in you, we're with you." This was a moment of profound connection, between people and with the values of love, justice, and hope. Love and courage had broken every barrier, opening a new chapter for the future. Marcus stood on the top-floor balcony of his company building, his gaze fixed on the horizon glowing with sunset. A gentle wind swept past, carrying with it a deep breath, like a reminder of all they had endured and all that still lay ahead. The golden light painted the sky, reflecting in Marcus's face the mix of resolve and hope. Softly, he murmured, "We're only just beginning." The words hung in the air, opening a vision of new horizons filled with turning points and possibilities. Behind him, Nia appeared, her eyes meeting his, both of them looking toward the future together. They knew the road ahead would not be easy, but love and faith would be their strength to face it all. The scene slowed, blending the sunset with the city lights, a view both romantic and full of promise. This open-ended message didn't just close the story, it stirred curiosity, urging the audience to await the next chapter. An ending filled with feeling, hinting at deeper stories of love, ambition, and the right to live. The story of Marcus and Nia was not just about love, it was about choosing between ambition and the true values of the heart. What would you choose if you stood at that crossroads? Would you have the courage to give up the superficial, to pursue something genuine and profound? We'd love to hear your story and your thoughts on this. Share your perspective and experiences in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and share so more people can feel and learn from it. And be sure to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring, authentic stories about life, love, and growth. Every interaction you give fuels our work, helping us connect communities through stories with the power to change. Remember, in life, the most important thing isn't how much money or fame you have, but whether you've dared to live honestly and to love others deeply. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. We'll see you in the next story, where love and steadfastness always triumph over every barrier.